In this video I'll tell you about a frame set that I built way back in 2005. Cool, 20 years ago. That went past quickly. I'll also tell you about the bike that I assembled the frame set into. This is the third in a series of videos where I talk about frame sets that I've previously built. And you'll find links to those other two videos at the end of this one. As you'll see later on, I tried to build a frame set that was a little bit different. So what I'll do is I'll describe what I built and try to give you some rationale as to why I built it that way. Also, as it was 20 years ago, I have very few pictures of it. The primary design goal for this frame was to make it as small or as compact as possible while maintaining good stable geometry. Making the frame small will both reduce weight and increase the stiffness of the frame set while increasing rider comfort. I built the frame using 531 steel tubing, the most practical material for use by an amateur frame builder like myself. The compactness of the frame was enhanced by building it around 26-inch wheels shot with 23mm wide tyres. As with other bike frames that I had built, this one had a low bottom bracket height of just 240mm. For me, this is an acceptable compromise. It increases the likelihood of a pedal strike, but makes it easier to reach the ground when sitting on the saddle. Like the other frames that I built, I offset the rear triangle by 5mm. These asymmetric dropouts allowed me to redish the wheel. That gave better spoke tension, which increased lateral wheel stiffness and potentially made them more reliable. To enhance downhill stability, I kept fairly long 430mm chain stays. The seat stays were of a wishbone type design, and because I was intending to use this bike for fast Audax, I also put some rack mounting points on it. Like the rest of the frame, the fork blades and steerer were 531 steel. I machined a custom twin plate fork ground to join the blades and steerer together. I aimed for a 45mm trail to give a good compromise between the quickness of the steering and overall stability. All of the main frame tube joints were fillet brazed. However, the front gear hanger, the fork dropouts and the fork crown were all silver soldered. I'm not sure how much the frame and forks weighed, but by today's standard they were probably very heavy. This is the only picture of that frame set that I have built into a bike. Around this time I was a Campagnolo fanboy, so I built this up using 3x10 speed Daytona equipment, which gave a good set of wide-ranging gears for Audax riding. Because of the small size of the frame, the standout features are the long seat pin and the raised, relatively long handlebar stem. These features are not particularly unusual these days, but back then they were much more unusual. The design anticipated long seat pins, which can be found on many modern bikes. The long seat pin allows for flex and therefore increases rider comfort, which, because of those 23mm tyres, was needed. I fitted single-sided SPD pedals. These had good cornering clearance, and that mitigated against the low bottom bracket height and the likelihood of pedal strike. Unlike some of the other bikes I've built which didn't handle particularly spectacularly, this bike is probably one of the best handling bikes I've ever ridden. It was stable on the fast downhills, yet when I needed to, the steering was sharp and responsive. When riding the bike down steep twisty roads, it was very fluid. I could almost think it round the corners. My confidence riding this bike fast in the dry was enhanced by the excellent Campagnolo rim brakes, although I have to admit they weren't quite so good in the wet. So what happened to that super compact road bike? I used it for about 3 years And then a work colleague asked me if they could have it on loan in order to ride a sportive. I agreed and handed the bike over. I never saw it again. No, they hadn't rode off into the sunset or run off with the bike. They rode the sportive and they liked the bike so much they decided to offer to buy it from me. And as they offered a good price, I reluctantly agreed. So I never saw the bike again. But it did allow me to move on to a new frame set. And maybe I'll talk about that in a future video. Talking about future videos, if you want to see those, consider subscribing. Also, in the unlikely event that you found this video entertaining or possibly useful, please consider giving it a thumbs up to show your appreciation. Finally, if you've got any questions, leave them in the comments and I'll do my best to answer them. From me, until the next video, it's goodbye.